The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. This gospel that we hear for Janice's Mass this morning is not an ordinary gospel proclaimed at a funeral mass, but it is the gospel that was read in every Catholic church throughout the world on Janice's last Sunday. And I think a beautiful gospel about listening to the Lord and recognizing that all of us are his beloved children. Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with him. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, "Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." While Peter was still speaking, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them, and from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my beloved, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Rise, do not be afraid." And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus charged them, "Do not tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The Gospel of the Lord. Joining with our consolation ministry and our music ministry and the parish family of Curiovars, all of us together offer our prayerful condolences to Ralph, Janice's beloved spouse of 45 years, married here at Curiovars, and to her 3 children, Brian, Stacy, and Lauren, who received the sacraments here at church and were schooled in the faith right here, and to their spouses, Kelly and Charles and Neil, and to her beloved 7 grandchildren, 7, the perfect number, Katie and her husband Alan, to Nicholas and Maggie, Hope, Abby, Robbie, and Ashley, and of course, as Brian mentioned, to Lucas, and to Janice's siblings, Dolores and Joan and Rich and Doug and Maureen, and to her cousin and good friend Marie Cox, who introduced Janice and Ralph to each other years ago, and to many extended family and friends from all over the community here today to mourn Janice's passing, to celebrate her beautiful, exuberant, happy, joyful life, and to celebrate most especially as people of faith, her new life with the Lord forever in heaven. So as we gather around this Easter candle, we are here at this Mass to know that as people of faith, that the other day when she passed, that she is home in heaven with Millie and Manny and her brother-in-law Art and all who preceded her into the kingdom of heaven. That is what our faith tells us, that in death, life is changed, not ended, and when the body of our earthly dwelling lies in death, we gain an everlasting dwelling place with the Lord in heaven. And as grandson Eric read in that first reading today from the Book of Wisdom, the souls of the just are in the hands of God, and no torment shall touch them. They are at peace. And that sense of faith and trust was underscored to Brian in the text message, as he mentioned in his eulogy, that he received from cousin Luann, that she had posted on social media, and spoke to him, as he noted, which said, "I want to let you know that I made it home." And it's interesting how, this gospel today, Jesus goes up on Mount Tabor, and he has just predicted that, life wasn't going to be easy for him. There would be struggles. But he goes up, and his, clothes became dazzling white, and they recognize that, the God is with them. And so this post on social media kind of says, in a sense, what our faith tells us. Everything is so pretty here, so white, so fresh, so new, transfigured. I wish that you could close your eyes and see it too. Try to understand. God is taking care of me, and I am in the shelter of his hand. Here, there is no sadness, no sorrow, no pain. Here, there is no crying, no hurt ever again. Here, it is so peaceful when the angels sing, I really have to go now. I just have to try my wings. P.S. I will be the first face you see when you get here. So a beautiful thought to share and to keep in mind as we mourn Janice's passing. And as nephew Daniel read from Thessalonians, console one another. That's what we are here to do this morning. Not that we can take away the pain, but to console one another with the words of faith that those who have gone before us shall always be with the Lord. However, no amount of words from a eulogy or a homily, or even from the Bible itself, can take away the pain and the sting of loss and death, especially a sudden passing like Janice's. But we have, you have, as a family, each other. And I know from losing my own parents that that's what our departed parents want for their grieving children and grandchildren. I especially have known Janice and Ralph from our Saturday afternoon conversations in the back of the church and in the vestibule after the Saturday evening vigil mass with her joyful, happy, talkative presence. Janice and Ralph were here at Mass, and together they shared faith. They shared our faith that brings us here today in the belief of the resurrection and the mystery of eternal life that she received from her parents, which Brian described as foundational. Foundational, along with Dolores and Joan and Rich, and that she passed on to Brian and Stacy and Lauren, and in turn, it has given strength and comfort, but doesn't take away the pain. And now the three of you are passing down the greatest values of family and faith to the next generation. So there are 4 connections that I'd like to make to build upon Brian's exceptional and beautiful eulogy. First, I chose this gospel we heard because it was read in every church throughout the world on the last Sunday before Janice passed, shortly after I was at the house for the last rites. It is the story of the Transfiguration, in which Jesus heard from heaven, "You are my beloved," and which Janice heard on March 10th, "You are my beloved, welcome home." St. Peter on that mountain, on Mount Tabor, wanted to stay there. St. Peter wanted Jesus to set up shop there forever and to be there forever and ever. But Jesus says there's more work, more mission to be done. That's in our hands, in your hands today. It's good for us to be here to bring Jesus's and Janice's example, her witness that Brian so beautifully exemplified in his eulogy. So what witness, what example of family and faith? Well, as Marie Cox said to me, so many things, 4 things in particular. Number 1, Janice lighted up a room whenever she walked into it. Number 2, she loved cooking and having everyone over for delicious dinners. Number 3, she loved having these afternoon parties, just a gathering of friends together, just being together to share life and exuberance for life in joyful living. And she was the backbone of the family, lovingly being there for all of you, her children and grandchildren and siblings. So it is good for us to be here today to acknowledge all the blessings that everyone in the church received through Janice, and to share and to celebrate and to cherish those good things of life. Doesn't take away the pain, but to cherish them, to celebrate them, to lift them up in thanksgiving. The second connection is this. On the Sunday after Janice passed, her first Sunday in heaven, we heard the story of the woman at the well. You see the image in front of the altar today. In between lies Janice's mortal remains. So the story of the woman at the well with Jesus, listening to him, and she was telling Jesus about the story of her life, very much like the story that Brian detailed in his eulogy. So I hope that you can feel your wife, your sisters, your mom, and nonas just being there in heaven with Jesus, sharing with him all the hopes that she has and always have, continue to have for each of you as you go on. The third connection is that Janice passed away, interestingly, maybe no coincidence at all, maybe a God instance, on Oscar weekend, presenting of the Academy Awards, which was, as Brian mentioned, a very big deal for her. So what's the connection there? I think it's about Janice wanting to acknowledge and to celebrate all the accomplishments of you, her children, and of the grandchildren. She and Ralph attended every soccer game, baseball game, track meet, gymnastic events, plays, concerts that you, her beloved grandchildren, were participating in. And as people of faith, as we gather around this Easter candle to know that she is with us from above, she will continue to be with each of you from above, forever cheering you on in good times and bad, rooting for each of you to do your very best, and hearing her cheers, her applause, her challenge, and love from above forever. So it's no coincidence that Grandma Janice went home to God on Oscar weekend so that she and Jesus will continue to tell all of you in different ways, you are my beloved, as I sit here from heaven at the feet of Jesus, rooting, cheering for all of you, her beloved family. Finally, the fourth connection is that we are here today. I know we had several days for coming together for this Mass this morning, but there were several days to pick. But we're here today commending Janice back to the Lord in between the great feast days of St. Patrick yesterday and St. Joseph tomorrow, March 19th. Interestingly, Janice, I'm told, made the very best Irish soda bread, even though she had at least half Italian blood in her from her mom. But she didn't make it, but she always purchased St. Joseph's bread on March 19th. So the common denominator in that is bread. Irish soda bread, St. Joseph bread. And the key message that I'd like to leave with you is this. Your wife, your sister, your mom, your nonna received every week the bread of life here at Mass and was nourished by God through Jesus to be bread and life and hope and presence for others, to become what she received in the Eucharist at Mass, and to grow in her relationship with God. So each of you can continue to find her. You can find her where she found God anew each week at Mass in this or any parish, so that in good times and bad times we know who to come to. She went to Jesus. She is with Jesus now. And this faith that she gave to everybody in her family and to so many people in this parish and to family and extended friends here today, this faith, as Brian said, is foundational. Faith doesn't take away the pain, but it gives us a space to place our loss in Jesus, the beloved Son, the bread of life. And as Brian said, somehow she always showed up. You had no idea what she was going to say then, and you have no idea what she's going to continue to say from above now. But her presence is there as people of faith, to feel the presence from above, to, in a sense, recognize the red carpet is rolled out for each of you, for all of us as a parish family, to witness and to hear the awards, the blessings, the accomplishments, the successes, good and bad, the good and bad challenges of life, to know that she is with the Lord. And so as we come together to commend it to the Lord, let us pray that her witness from above will continue to inspire all of us here to be bread and life and hope for others. And now I ask everyone to please stand as Janice's daughter-in-law Kelly comes up to offer our general intercessions.